Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Hard left. Look at that. Okay,
What do we got? I have no idea.
It's an X-ray of a Jeep with a person driving.
Okay.
So it's a great image. So
which, by the way, is right there. If you could see the bottom of it behind me.
Oh, okay. So you're pointing behind you. So what's great is behind, just above your head, framing your head is practice hospitality. Yeah. And then it says no vacancy right above it. And above that is this photo. Yeah. So it's the field is all black. And because it's an X-ray, so I mean, it could be an illustration, but it could be a photograph. It's essentially of a Jeep with the X-ray kind of showing the different sort of facets. Inside there's a human, a whole sort of at the wheel. All you see is a skeleton, and then there's a dog. I think this is an illustration more than a proper X-ray because the dog you don't actually see the skeleton. What you see is the tissue of the dog that wouldn't come up in an X-ray. That's fine. And then there are two surfboards on top of the Jeep. Why?
Okay, so first of all, you're wrong on a lot of fronts. So this is a spectacular British artist. Nick Vasey is his name, Vasey, and this is what he does: is he takes these objects and X-rays them, right?
Wow.
So and then it's art. He sells these photographs as art. And
for sure,
first of all, it's a Land Rover Defender, which if anyone who follows me on Instagram will know I am obsessed. I own a 1975 Land Rover Defender 110 diesel clunky that looks exactly like that one. So obsessed with them. Not the new ones. Forget the new ones. They don't work. But the original ones work really well. But again, similarly looking for meaning. So I first see this. I'm like, okay, this is great. I love it. I'm a Land Rover, fan. Great piece of art. But then you look at it again and you're like, you know what? This is so amazing and fascinating. So I now use this in my email signature. And what I write underneath it is that we are all the same underneath. You don't know what kind of dog is in that car. You don't know what kind of car it is unless you know because the shape tells you. And particularly the person that's driving it, right? Like, who is that person? Are they rich? Are they
There's
poor?
a kid.
Are they black? Are they white? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, but sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
So the genesis behind it is that we are all the same underneath. Doesn't matter what your bank account says, what your skin color is, what your college degree or not is. In that moment, we are literally all exactly the same underneath. And again, I love the deep meaning behind it. Doesn't hurt that it's an object of desire of mine, the car at least. And you just got to sort of see yourself in this, Land Rover going to the beach with the surfboards with your son who you're teaching to surf, and you have your dog in the back with you. So it just, again, it invokes so many emotions. But really the deep one in this is this idea that, back to about look at things differently. Don't look at the outline of the car. Think deeper about who's behind those facades, the skin of the car, the skin of the dog, the skin of the person. I didn't mean to get so philosophical on you so early in the morning, by the way.
No, this is great. No, this is my cup of tea. This is what I like. Okay, so it's kind of like as we experience things, and for example, just of your life, right? Like you're born in Syria. I don't know. Is Syria landlocked, or does Syria have a coast? I don't remember.
Mediterranean coast, yeah.
So there is part of the Mediterranean, right?
Eastern Mediterranean, between Turkey and Lebanon.
So were you close to the sea?
So in the capital city, which is not super close to the sea, but probably if you drove from Damascus to Beirut, it's a couple of hours and you're on the sea.
It's always like, for example, I'm in Hong Kong. I moved to Hong Kong from Montreal. Right? Why? Because my wife and I at the time did a strategic planning session for ourselves to say if we could be anywhere and do anything, where do we want to be and do? And she's from the West Coast, from Vancouver, so you're part of the world now. And we looked at the world and we said, well, where can we go? And then after 2 weeks, we decided Hong Kong was the right place to go. And so then we came to Hong Kong. And so with Po, we talked a lot about this idea of the power of pull and what attracts you, and what is it that it's like it's we make sense of the world by looking backwards. So why did you get drawn to hospitality as a kind of a life work in a way? And then like how does that connect to this image of this one particular artist who does these amazing like x-rays of these giant things? Can you connect those dots?
So, hospitality, by its very nature, relies a lot on beauty. I'll use that term for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You're building beautiful spaces. We talked a lot about the art you use and the scent and the lighting and the textures and the carpet and the colors, and then the beauty of the offering, again, in terms of the warmth of the hospitality and all of that. So the way I connect everything in that sphere is that I say I'm drawn to beauty in any form, right? Car,
Mm.
mountain, watch, man, woman, it really doesn't matter. It's not objectified. It's just like the village you saw. That was a beautiful picture, I thought. So it's what inspires me to create beautiful spaces is being a fan of beauty in whatever form it comes in. And beauty, by the way, has nothing to do with perfection. Beauty could be found in the most
Mm-hmm.
imperfect thing. If you talk about photography, that's a key element in it. I think is that you can find beauty in anything. So the way I connect all that to the world around me is this idea that beauty inspires, and it inspires you to really think about how you're doing things and how could you make hotels by their very nature tend to be aspirational, right? And the idea behind aspirational is you live in a house, it's probably the design is not as great as you would find in a hotel. The bed is not as good as a hotel. The art's not as good as a hotel. So when you go to a hotel, you want it to feel aspirational. So you're constantly looking for things to fill these buildings in that create the sense of aspiration for the guests, because then it speaks more to the value proposition. So connecting all those things together, and again, my teen kids complain that I post too much on social media, and I do it for me. It's not monetized or anything. I do it for me because I want to
Mm.
share. I mean, you could find beauty in a quote. You could find beauty in, like I said, anything, and just share it with the world. So that's how I connect it all together. It's we need time to be inspired and creative, and that comes from whatever is. Some people love reading books. That's how they're inspired. I'm a more visual person. I love to go and collect these objects of beauty from across the board in photographs that help me get inspired and stay innovative and focused on
Mm-hmm.
what's important to what matters more.
Right. Okay, so from your experience, so yeah, so in the same kind of vein, right? When traveling in Sri Lanka, we were staying at this one place and it was kind of mediocre. And then we just went and we stayed at this other place and we're just like, meh, whatever, weren't expecting very much.
Sure.
And it turns out that the guy who ran this little inn that had maybe 5 rooms actually owned 4 Michelin starred restaurants in the UK. So for us, it was this unassuming explosion of experience that just, that stays with you for the rest of your life. But here I am
Exactly.
talking about it like 15 years later.
Sure.
So in your travels, when was there that happy discovery where all of a sudden you said, okay, wipe the blackboard clean. This here is something that's other level.
Such a tough question to answer. Um, Again, the answer I normally give is the only time I'm blown away. I'll answer it differently. 244 hotels in Manhattan. People say, "What do you remember? What stands out?" Right? But what stands out? And I say the only thing I remember is when someone goes out of their way and genuinely highlight, underline, gives a shit. Like the bar is
Mm-hmm.
really low. Back to Maslow for a minute. When
Mm-hmm.
someone pushes that button at the very top of Maslow, self-actualization, transcendence, that's when you got me. At the bottom, great, you have great shelter, you have great whatever, okay, it's objects. If you manage to push that button, that's the sort of the moment of truth. And that, in my experience, has only happened when people made me feel Like I, the individual, matter. Let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I fly on Delta Airlines in the US. I go to the gate. My name is on the screen. I'm on the top of the upgrade list. Sure, I'll take your upgrade. I'm not going to, believe me, I'll take your
Mm-hmm.
upgrade happily.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't get excited about it because in my mind, an upgrade is there's a system that says record number 5679 who traveled this many miles has priority, thus gets the upgrade. I, Bashar,
Yeah.
didn't get the upgrade. The record got the upgrade. I go sit on the
Right.
plane, and the flight attendant comes to me mid flight and hands me a card, a handwritten card that the pilot wrote that says, Dear Mr. Wali, thank you for being a loyal customer. Thank you for keeping us employed and working during the pandemic and for stepping up and traveling. I am king of the
Wow.
world, right?
Yeah.
So you think about those moments. Sure, I've got my upgrade. That's not transcendence. That's not self-actualization. I paid my dues to get my upgrade, right? Nothing's free. I
Sure.
traveled so much,
Yep.
but for someone to recognize me, that's the moment of truth. And I think that's when I see that done well in hotels, that's what I remember, and that's what I try to do in what we do every day. And it's not easy, obviously, right? Remember, we have a transitory industry. People come and go. It's hard to train
Mm-hmm.
people. Generationally, it's changing a lot because people want, everything done electronically. But I still think you can do a lot of those things. You don't have to do it for every single person, but do it for enough people, and it becomes your thing. It becomes part of
Right.
your ethos and what you do. So fundamentally, again, it really is about, and I can't say it enough, I'm a huge fan. If you figure out in your business how to push that transcendence, self actualization button, that's how you win every time. At the bottom, the service you provide has to be good. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
as charming as you are, if your product is garbage relative to the next competitor, it's not going to last long. But if you're selling me a service and you and your competitor have the same quality, the way you're going to win my business is by figuring out how to build a relationship with me and making me believe that you value me enough as a human that you're making me feel that I matter, right? We talk a lot about teams and
Absolutely.
teamwork. Of course teams matter, but at the end of the day you want to be recognized for your work within the team, because team just
Yep.
erases you as a human. You are a person with your individual contribution. Sure, I recognize the team, but I want to recognize you as well.
Right. Yeah. So that notion and I guess that goes back to the quote that you had said about, have somebody stay with you for 3 days so you
Sure.
actually get to know them. And then, right. Okay.
With the idea that again, you're not serving strangers. I mean, some people are so friendly. They use the quote like, I've never met a stranger. Like there is no such thing. You mean because the
Yeah.
stranger inevitably becomes not a stranger anymore.
Well, my daughter calls me Mr. Friendly because I'm constantly, yeah. So as you can tell,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to say anything else about the fact that Land Rovers, you're a fan? We're going to have to get them to sponsor the show.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. They won't
The
like it
old
though, because
ones, not the new
I don't,
ones.
I don't like their new ones that much. But
You already
yeah,
shit on the new ones.
shh. Yeah, I love Land Rovers. Again, it's I think the form. I love the form. I love the beauty of the
Yeah.
form. So
Well, actually, let's follow that for a second. Being in the okay, so I'm Canadian, right?
mhm,
So Canada, wide spaces, all this stuff, and so for me, now Hong Kong is the exact sort of opposite, where it's
opposite.
kind of like a very enclosed space. It's very dense. Although
Sure.
where I live is very rural.
Mhm.
But why don't you talk about when was the last time you took a road trip
Define a road trip.
in your Land Rover,
Oh, it's
gone
not.
out?
I mean, short drives. It's not a comfortable road trip kind of thing. And people
Right, right,
say you
right.
should be taking her in the mud and in the mountains. And I say, no, no, no. She's too precious to get dirty.
Sure.
Um, Listen, I'm a city slicker. I'm an urban rat. You tell me today that you're going to give me an award for being on your show. I can either come to Hong Kong for 2 days, fully paid, or I can go to the Maldives for a week. I'm picking Hong Kong. I am
Okay.
city all the way. So I don't do much road trips. I do airplane trips. I know my carbon footprint is terrible, but yeah, I love flying to new places. Sure, I enjoy driving every
Hmm.
once in a while, but mostly flying.
Well, what you need to do is find yourself an X-ray of a jumbo jet, because that would be
Exactly.
mind blowing.
I take a G650. That would work. That would work. Doesn't need to be a
Sure.
jumbo jet.
So, is life really a gift? Really? Can you make every second count? That's the whole point of the podcast. So, if you like what you've seen and you're inspired, because that really is my mission, then please give it a like, subscribe, and share.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.